Okay, so I'm back. I'm sorry about that. You know how it is. Jesus, it drives me mental. Just getting into a conversation and a nice little chat, and then that happens. It often happens, we can't do much about it, unfortunately. But there you go. If it goes off again, I'll try and come on again later. It's just how it is sometimes. But let's get those comments back. We was just talking about about the way the team played yesterday, and although uh, obviously the final result wasn't what we were looking for, and they certainly didn't perform particularly well. But I think we have to look at the fact that that squad yesterday had got fairly limited ability in it, and it's not. Sarah, here I am. I'm back. It just cut off. Um, so that side yesterday had got. There's two things about it, and it's like number one is that the side, as I said, had got limited ability. We've taken seven players out of that side, some really good players. I know, Paul, I'm back now, mate. If it goes again, I'll try and come back on a little bit later. I don't know what's the matter with it. It just happens sometimes. Um, the back four really is a new back four. The two centrals haven't played together. Um, Cochrane didn't look right. I personally would have started yesterday with Cashin, and at right back, I don't know. I mean, he does his best, doesn't he? Sam's dead, but again, he's not an Ethan Laird. And then in the middle of the park, Iwata and um, Pike. Pike didn't particularly. I don't know. Like we were falling short with the passes. We were giving possession away. We're not very crisp. Roberts, as usual, he's good on the ball, but when he's not getting support, he's all right him going forward. But there's no Ethan Laird there. There's no overlapping right back, which is usually what we have. I know that Samstead has a go, but he's, like I said, he's not Ethan Laird. I think Williamson was completely ineffective yesterday. We missed Stansfield desperately. Kyogo runs his little things off, but again, ineffective. Wide on the left. I don't know what happened to Anderson yesterday. Just didn't look like he wanted to know. Um, so I don't know. Um, Bringing AC back in, Alex Cochrane. Yeah, I think so. I don't know what the situation was regarding his fitness. Obviously, I don't know. I don't think anyone else does. You would think that, if he's playing, then, he should be fit, shouldn't he? And we would hope so. You wouldn't want to be playing a player that's not fit. So whether it was a recurrence of the injury, I honestly don't know. And I don't think anyone really does. But so there's obviously a lot of upset at the ground, and fair enough. You have the right, to voice your opinion on you have your right to voice your opinion wherever you want, providing the people that you're voicing it to are happy with it. I don't mean happy with it, but when you're posting onto forums, if the forum doesn't want that post or thinks it's abusive or wrong, they've got every right to remove it. Peter Hill, with all the players missing, I think they should have set up and played defensively. Boring, but try for a 0-0 and maybe snatch you in a. There's probably an argument for that. Um, I think what happened, yesterday was we did actually have more possession in the first half, but you see how fast Watford are, and how well they transition. They just tore us to pieces. I mean, we're lucky to get away with three, I think. Steve Dennis said, I don't want to call out players, but there's major problems with our defence. Yeah, there was yesterday. Neumann lost his man again, he did. Um, Archer also got ahead of him on Monday. The whole defence let Sheffield United have that free header last week. Southampton, oh right, yeah, Southampton, sorry, Sheffield United last week. That was unforgivable. That wasn't the whole defence. I mean, you've got to look at that again. We need strength, and I don't think this is a promotion winning defence. Um, I don't think it is. We've got some very good defenders, but the thing is, we haven't been able to like settle on what we want. You know, we haven't been able to settle on. We haven't got a defences play together long enough, and it really is like an issue for us. Um, we got some very good centre. Well, we got Clara, who, but they're all like limited, I think, in what they can do. Clara is big and strong, um, but I don't think he's, you know, he's not like a footballing centre half, which is really, we need someone who can bring the ball out of defence. He does, but he's limited in what he can do. Same with Neumann. Neumann isn't really strong enough for me. He doesn't mix it up enough. He looks like he's bullied sometimes. So perhaps not the greatest signing. Uh, you know, I mean, Samsted's only played 3 games, I think 4 games in a year, so we can't really have a go at him. Steve Markey, good afternoon. Steve, how are you, mate? Happy New Year. Um, and then a left back, Cochrane, you know. I mean, Cochrane's limited in his ability, in my opinion. He's a championship fullback, but there are better fullbacks in the left backs in the championship than him. I mean, I think I would personally have Lee Buchanan ahead of Cochrane, but that's just a personal choice. In the middle, I think like we're desperately missing Doyle now, aren't we? Because we haven't got that ball player. It's all right throwing in Pake and Pake and Iwata, and they can do a certain amount, but without having Dimmy in front of them and Stansfield in front of them, that they're going to fall short because they haven't got the ball player. You know, Leonard can do that job, and he came on yesterday and had a go, but to be honest with you, the whole team just looked, I don't know, perhaps there's a little bit of unrest in the dressing room. I think that I don't know, like the Keshi interview, I think he like threw him under the bus a little bit, Kesh. Uh, he's got the right to do that if he wants. Paul J was saying, sounds like Wagner's joining. CD says as much in this interview with, I don't know, BM is that Birmingham Mail or something, I don't know. I don't know, it's like I said yesterday, I don't know anything about the player. Um, I haven't seen a credible source say anything yet, not for me anyway. So I don't know. I don't know anything about him, and to be honest with you, I just think that playing like buying a fullback from the MSL that's originally a German fullback, I don't know. Let's hope. Um, Daniel Garvey said yesterday before the game we should have set up 4-3-3. It's I don't think the setup yesterday was that you know that it was that problematic. It was the players, to be honest. Leonard Roberts looked exhausted from the beginning. Roberts had a lot of football and he does work very hard, you know. Watford played practically the same squad for the last 4 games, but they knew that if they sat back they could catch us on the break. They did. That's exactly what they did. But I think, you know, we can't play the same squad for 4 games because of all the issues that we have, injuries, suspensions. You know, we can't do that. We haven't got that luxury. Steve Daniels is saying, but like I said, Gray, Stano, Door, Clara, Laird, would that have been different yesterday? Yeah, it would have. I absolutely would have. You know, they don't listen. Those players, you're going to miss those players. Don't matter who you are, you're going to definitely miss them. And it was tough. It was tough yesterday. What I didn't think, I don't know, like I hate to see this sort of unrest between players and supporters. And apparently there's a little bit of an issue with Dux at the end. He's a professional footballer. He shouldn't be arguing with supporters. What he should have done if he didn't like what was being. I mean, it doesn't mean that he's a professional footballer. He should accept abuse off people, but he should have walked away. I mean, he can go and have a chat with the manager or the club and explain what happened or whatever. But you don't respond in the way that he did. I don't think that was very good. He's not going to endear himself to the team and what happens now if we want to play him on Sunday. Something else that Chris Davies has to think about, what's the reaction of the supporters going to be. Sunday's game is obviously like it couldn't have come at a worse time. Coventry are a good side. They've only won 2 of the last 5, but it's 2 more than us. Doyle's done his 3, but Clara hasn't. Paul Clara's got 1 more. So Doyle's back this weekend. I honestly don't know about the injury situation with Dimmy and Stansfield. Stansfield usually is a really quick recoverer. Dimmy not quite so much. I would hope Stansfield's back, and with Doyle it makes a difference. In the back 4, I would be tempted if Doyle's back to put Iwata back at right back. It gives Roberts more support. You know, Coventry obviously going to come expecting the 3 points, aren't they? Because we're in a little bit of a mess at the moment, and I don't know. I think what the club needs to do is to make a statement. No one can pretend that yesterday's meltdown didn't happen, because it did. The club perhaps has to come out now and make a statement, and let's just either support the manager or remove him. You know, for me personally, I would keep him, give him till the end of the season, give him a January window, see what happens. He's had an awful lot of bad luck. He didn't do himself any favours getting sent off last week. Clara, I don't know what happened to him. He had a red mist, but these things are things that cost us. It's not the same with you know, without Chris Davies on the touchline. It isn't. Ben Petty is a lovely bloke, but it's not the manager, is it? You know. And every single supporter's upset about it. It doesn't matter whether you haven't been, whatever. We're all upset. You know, no one wants to see the team losing. Obviously, we don't. That's a given. And the season is young enough to still make something out of it. It's just so frustrating, isn't it? You know, I understand people getting pissed off. Honestly, I do. I just try to keep my head a little bit. We've been in much worse positions than this, take it from me, you know. I mean, I've been there and seen it all. A lot of you have as well, you know. And people saying this is the worst we've ever played. You ain't watched Blues very long if you think that. James Ambry-Robinson's been playing well, just need him next to Clara. I think that as well, James. And we will be fine moving forward. Needs a big mobile centre forward. Jay looked good on the left also. He did, but I know, like, it's a shame having to play Jay on the left. He was really good. When then we haven't got him up front, you know, he can only play in one position. And that's if we keep playing the formation that we're playing. Perhaps we could tweak it a little bit and still, you know, play the possession game. I don't know, a big mobile centre forward like someone like Agyemang would be brilliant for us, because he also, you know, plays football. He's not a lump. But of course, you know, we talk about a lot of money for players like that. Daniel Garvey says after Coventry we have what is now a really difficult trip to Cambridge United. Yeah, well, I mean, it was going to be a difficult one anyway. And Cambridge United are going to be looking at us and licking their lips, aren't they? You know, we want that. We want to win at Cambridge. We need the FA Cup. We need the money. James Ambry had more shots coming inside than had when he played in the night. Yeah, and that actually, though, James, that sort of proves my point, because he's having to play 2 roles. When Iwata isn't effective, then Stansfield not only plays wide left, he also tries to get himself on the edge of the box, as we've seen against Southampton, where he loves to be, just coming across the edge of the penalty area, hitting that right foot shot, which we've seen him score many goals like that. And he's having to do 2 jobs, and it's too much for him. He looked absolutely knackered, didn't he, the other day? You know, really did. You know what I think, Steve Daniels saying, you know what I think a big answer would be? finding an absolutely worldly attacking mid or number 10 to replace Williamson. I agree. Again, I had to call players out, but he's not for it. And I have to say, you know, a couple of points you make there, Steve, I don't agree with, but I do agree with the fact that I don't think Williamson is the answer for us. I don't think he's going to work for us. And you say you had to call a player out, but he isn't offering anything. No pace. He hasn't got pace. His height, he's not good in the air, and I think that's a huge one. He's not bought. He wasn't bought for his height and to play the ball into the air to him, but he should do better. He's quite strong, but he's quite clumsy. He looks awkward. He's got, you know, he can play some. He can play some nice. You know, he was lovely last season at times. Played some lovely football at times, but you know, you've got to be able to, you know, rely on him to make those passes that number 10 makes, and he just doesn't do it, I'm afraid. James Hambry is then saying no service, to be fair to him, in the 9. Haaland wouldn't score for us with the service. Well, yeah, I don't think you can say that, to be fair, James. If you're talking about Iwata, he's had plenty of chances. You know, when everyone says no one gives him any service and he doesn't get the ball, of course he does, because every one of those one-on-ones, he's had the service to put that ball at his feet. So as much as I like him, he's absolutely brilliant at pressing. If we were doing really well and we had the team and we had the ability, you know, to have the luxury of playing a player like Iwata, but we don't. We need goals. Steve Daniels saying if you look at the likes of recent promoted teams, Ipswich and Mari Hutchinson, Leicester, Dewsbury Hall, yeah, you know, I mean, we can look at those sort of players all day long. You know, but you can look at us if you're another championship team and say, look at Birmingham, Stansfield, Damari Gray, Patrick Roberts, Doyle. You know, we have got some very good players. We need someone like that. Even one of our old players, Brian Hughes, would be a bit lightweight in this division now, I think. I think Doyle's got the ability to do this role, to play this role. He needs protection, and I think we probably need one more deep sitting midfielder, so perhaps play a 4-3-2-1. Someone did say earlier, I think, a 4-3-3, it's more or less that, but you play like, instead of playing a traditional number 10, you sort of play a 10 and an 8 and you play one up top. So you could have like three midfielders, Pake, Doyle and one other, and then the back four, you know, we could have Iwata in the back four and right back until we get Laird back. And I don't know, it's American, apparently he's coming, I don't know. I don't know if the thing we need more than anything else is a left back, you know, we need a striker, and I hope that business is done. We need a striker, there's no doubt about that. There are not enough strong physical athletic players within the squad. We are lightweight. We are, John Barker, I think we are physically lightweight. We're not tall enough. We're not powerful enough. And the big players that we have aren't, you know, we don't want to play Lyndon Dykes from the start, not because Lyndon doesn't put everything in, because he does. He's nice, but Ducks just hasn't got it. And I don't think Neumann has it either. I think they're both struggling. And you know, and we've got another German fullback coming in who hasn't played in the British leagues, and I think this does make a difference. I really do. You know, we haven't seen anything of Kanya, and I don't think that's because we could be going off in a minute. My mouse is jumping all over the place. See if we do. Thanks for joining me. You know, we've got Kanya, who I think everyone thought was going to be great, you know, and he obviously hasn't impressed at all. James Ambry saying, with everyone fit and at home, we have been excellent, even versus good teams away. Performance being off the ball, but we need to stay positive. 3 to 4 wins in a row. It does do that. 3 to 4 wins in a row. But you know, we need to get the 3 to 4 wins in a row. We haven't really done that this season. We need to put a run together, and obviously, you know, the finger's going to be pointed at Chris Davis. At the end of the day, like he said on his interview yesterday, the buck stops here. You know, it's him. It's down to him. And I don't know. Like I said, I know, like, you know, I said I feeling Keshi was putting the boot in a little bit yesterday, and if there's a bad feel in the dressing room, then he has got real problems. If the dressing room is okay, it's still behind him. And after watching the Sheffield United game, you know, I mean, you have to think that dressing room is 110% behind him, because they absolutely killed themselves in that game, didn't they, to try and get the result, and deserved it. Had we won those 2 games against Sheffield United, I know it's easy to say, but the Sheffield United one and the Derby one, which we should have won both, we had the chances to do it, then, you know, we're looking at a completely different thing, aren't we? You know, we got 4 more points, we're in a nice position, but Steve Danceria, they don't sack CD. I'm praying and they pull out 3 or 4 unbelievable signings for him. They need to do something, and I think Tom Wagner will be thinking this as well, because Tom Wagner doesn't want to lose the supporters, but I'm sure he doesn't want to lose Chris Davis. I think he's got a lot of faith in him, and it's the way he wants to play football, Tom Wagner. You know, we've got to look pragmatically at it, and we have to look sensibly at it, and stop, like, you know, slating each other as supporters. And we all want the same result at the end of the day, which is for Blues, you know, as soon as possible to be in the Premier League. So we have to think about the way forward. I think now is the wrong time to move the manager out. I don't think there's really managers that are going to come to us that are going to do the job. You know, to sack Chris Davis would cost us a lot of money. Apart from the fact I think he's a really good young coach personally. Who do we replace him with? Because don't forget, Tom Wagner won't have anyone that plays that kind of 4-4-2 game. He wants to play with, you know, he wants to play with possession football. Thomas Essex saying we need a good goalkeeper. Goalkeeper's the last thing we got to worry about at the moment, mate. We've got 2 decent goalkeepers at the minute. Next season, perhaps. That certainly isn't top of the shopping list. Absolutely not. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, what is the team going to be on Sunday? We need to know the situation in terms of injuries, but I think that I don't know. That German's not going to be playing on Sunday unless he gets him and rushes him, which would be the wrong thing to do. He hasn't trained with us, as far as I know. I'm sure if he had been, we'd have found out about it. And then, you know, Cochrane's out, so we've got Cashington coming at left back. Robinson and Clara are going to have to take those 2 central midfield positions. I personally would drop Iwata back to right back. I would have Doyle and Pake in the middle. Against Coventry, we need Pake's experience and ability, and Doyle has the passing ability, you know, to cause problems. And then we've got to see who's available. Don't think Williamson needs to start in the 10. I think if Williamson's not fit, and neither is Dimmy and neither is Stansfield, I think we've got to look at Roberts on the right. I don't know if Anderson's fit on the left. I don't know. We can play Dykes in the 10 and Stansfield up top, or Stansfield left, Roberts right, Dykes in the 10 and Kyogo up top. But we're still not, you know, we're still nowhere near a full strength team. So we're going to have to look at damage limitation on Sunday, and think about how we're going to set up. Yeah, like Will Stir is saying there, he's in an impossible situation. Out with himself, and Clara still banned on now. And you have to look also, at the disciplinary situation. It's all right being all fire and brimstone, but you have to pay for it. Uh, we'll say not having him in technical area is a massive loss, as we've seen against Watford. It is, but I don't think it would have made any difference. I don't. I think that team looked jaded. They looked tired. They just didn't look interested. When you compare it to the game against Sheffield United, and it was, I don't know how many days later, 2 or 3 days later, it just looked absolutely unbelievable, didn't it? And I know we had no Stansfield. Stansfield was massive against Sheffield United. Um, and you take a player like that out to the side. And we had people saying about 2 weeks ago, why doesn't the golden boy get dropped? And that, well, you see why now, don't you? Why he doesn't get dropped? Because that's what we're left with. When Stansfield isn't patrolling around the edge of that box, we are looking pretty threadbare, aren't we? What was lacking yesterday was quality. When we did have possession and we got the ball forward, we ran out of ideas at the end, and it was a quality issue. I think Keshi looked good for like the first 10 minutes, and then he sort of disappeared a bit too. John Barker saying one of the biggest problems is in midfield not giving forward passes to our forwards. You can't always pass forward if the defence in front of you is making it hard to do it, and particularly if you haven't got a decent ball player. And I don't think yesterday we had the ball player to make those passes. There's no one in the middle yesterday that could do that. We know Iwata and Pate can pass a ball, but not like Dor can. Or, usually when you got, Laird or whoever, Iwata going forward on the right, then you've got Patrick Roberts going into the number 8, and then he's a man that can pass the ball, but there was nothing like that, it just wasn't there. So just bloody difficult, man, I don't know, we're all scratching our heads trying to think what the answer is. I don't think the answer is to sack the manager, but that's something that isn't done by me, it's done by, Tom Wagner. And Tom Wagner will be absolutely 100% aware of everything that's going on. I can promise you that. So that's something to think. Steve Daniels, is a tough question. Go on then, Steve. You should have added it onto the actual, there's a tough question one, because it makes me get a bit worried. I'll be honest, whatever you ask me. And I'm always worried this is just going to suddenly cut off, so ask me quick. Yeah, so the Coventry game, I just don't know. Do you think Iwata and Pike are the future of our central? Well, I don't think that. No, I don't. I don't think, it depends when you're saying the future of our midfield. They're not Premier League players. Pike is a real favourite to Chris Davies, and I've said it before. Sometimes, I think Pike's been chosen over Leonard when it shouldn't have been. Iwata, I honestly believe, like, Iwata is a very, very good player in terms of he can play in a number of positions. He's very good right back. I think he's as good as any right back we've got at the moment, including Laird when he's back. He's very, very strong. He's good in defensive midfield if you've got a couple of skillful players in front of him. But I don't think as a pairing. And against Sheffield United, they look good, but they just looked out of it yesterday. But they haven't, they hadn't got that ball player sitting next to them or in front of them that they could give the ball to and let them do the business. Instead, they had to do the business themselves, and they're not equipped to do that. Just very, very tough, and it's us supporters. At the end of the day, it's our club, and we're the ones that sort of suffer for it. We've seen it all before. It was like this sort of meltdown with Rooney, wasn't it? I think it's a completely different situation because Wagner um, appointed Chris Davis, and obviously like the Rooney thing. Although I have to say that I think Wayne Rooney is a really good awareness of tactical football. He's very, very good, but there was two things that was wrong when Rooney came in. One was we didn't have the players to play like that, and two, Rooney just isn't good with with people. You know, he doesn't have the communication skills that Chris Davies has. Paul James says, "What about Ducks now? Has anything official been said about the incident?" I don't think it has, Paul. I'm pretty sure what Chris Davies said, that players shouldn't interact with supporters in that kind of way, and he's absolutely right. And I think Ducks has a question to answer, and we'll see what happens. You know, you don't expect that from your own players. You just don't. He's a new signing as well. I don't know if he thinks he's going to endear himself to the support group, to the supporters by reacting like that. He just isn't, and it's not good. It was really cringy yesterday. The whole thing was, and I don't mean, you know, I'm not being. Just the whole thing was cringy yesterday. If you're looking outside, you're gonna look at that and think, what the fuck's going on at Birmingham, you know? And Steve Daniels says Rooney's good with grannies. Apparently. But actually, Beck had on the very first open house, Beck was there, and she spent like some time with Rooney, and he was explaining to her the way he wants to play the game, and it's exactly the same as the way we're playing. And I think that what happened there was, Gary Cook got Rooney the job, put him in place, like jobs for the boys kind of thing. We weren't ready for him because we didn't have the players to play that way. And when it all went tits up, I think Wagner realised that Cook had him over the coals a little bit, and took the piss a bit. And I think that was the end of Cook, as we know now. That was the end of him. He's gone. And then he decided, get through last season, then in the close season, pick the manager that we want and go forward with that, because the thing that Tom Wagner insists on is possession football. And if anyone's got issues with that, go to Tom Wagner. Don't go to a manager that plays possession football that's been appointed by Tom Wagner and ask him to play in another way, because he ain't going to do it. That's my opinion, Andy Wood, Rooney never had any of his own players and had a pissed up centre half. You can't compare the two. You're absolutely right. And CD did have he hasn't. CD hasn't got a hand-picked squad. Chris Davies didn't pick his squad. The pool of players, and this is what makes me laugh as well, to be fair, is people say stuff like, we bought that league last season. Look at how much our team cost. And well, let me tell you something, right? No one knows exactly what we paid for any of those players, because you don't know. The club doesn't confirm it. No one knows. And secondly, most of those players no one had ever heard of. So to say we bought it, like we bought the best players, no one had heard of half of those players, and that's the truth. You know that yourselves. I didn't know a load of those players, and if you say you did, I think you're probably telling a bit of a fib. John Baker says Stansfield, Doyle, Gray, Roberts, Laird, Clara, Kyogo, Iwata, all okay at this level. The remainder are not good enough for the championship. I think Pate's good enough for the championship, definitely. He's a nice footballer. I think I'd agree with all the rest of that. I don't know about Kyogo. Listen, John, right? We've got a striker here that hasn't scored one league goal, and something we desperately need is league goals. And it's all right saying he doesn't get the service. He gets a service. If he didn't get the service, he wouldn't have those one-on-ones that he's missed. He wouldn't have the opportunity to score them. So, you have to be honest about this. We all like him. Like I said, he needs to do his roots. We all like Kyogo. but he has to score goals. That's what his job is. He does nothing. He presses, but there's no, you couldn't play him on the left wing. You couldn't play him in the base of the midfield. You couldn't play him as a number 10. He has that he's a one-trick pony, and if he can't pull that trick off, then I'm sorry, there ain't no place for him in the team. I want him to score a hat-trick every time he plays, but it just doesn't work for some reason. And it's frustrating, isn't it? Andy Wood saying the players that Chris Davis didn't want. I mean, like with a question mark, I'm not. You're asking the wrong person. If you want to ask that, ask Chris Davis that. If you listen to the open house, it was explained how the players are picked, and the initial group of players aren't picked by Chris Davis. It will come down to a point when they'll say, right, out of these, pick the ones that you want. But that he doesn't go out and go, right, I want him from there and him from there. He doesn't. That's not the way the system works, and neither does Gardner do that. I don't know why people ask this question still, because it was explained in great detail on the last open house. Just go and watch that and listen to the way it's explained. It tells you everything. I'm not saying he didn't want them, but they're not handpicked. That's what I said. They're not handpicked by Chris Davis. Richard Osborne saying, problem is we're shopping in parts of the world where players are not known to be able to achieve at this level. Championship, better league than most primary leagues in Europe. I definitely agree with that. Certainly better than the MLS, that's where our latest recruit season. Absolutely agree. And miles better than the Bundesliga. That's the thing as well. Sammy Schmardix, this is Brett Noakes. Sammy Schmardix would be great. Right about now, definitely. I'd love to have him, yeah. Proven, been around goals at this level for a while. Yeah, and I don't know. I think last year our January recruiting was done differently to the way it was done in the summer. So it may be that we're looking at, individual footballers and thinking, do we make a move for him? Do we look at him? So that may be the case where we look at individuals. There's a number of really good strikers in the Championship, but the thing is, in January, you ain't going to get them away. If you've got teams anywhere near the top, January is not a time to look for players. Always the summer window is the best one. So, you've got no chance of getting any of those strikers from the top 8 or 10 Championship teams that look so good. Just 5 or 6 that I would love in our team, but unfortunately, that ain't going to happen. And I think we've got to look at bringing someone in from probably on loan from a Premier League team, or someone that has got Premier League experience, someone who's a bit older in the tooth who scores goals. I don't know. Yeah, Paul James, he highlights the positions, not the players, when they scout what's available for the position. Yeah, and I think when you say, it's a little bit misleading when you say when they scout what's available. They don't even do that. It's done all electronically. There's so much information about players now that you don't even have to see them. The information tells you all about them. And Paul Evans, whoever comes, must have a physical attribute as well as skill with 2 light. But yeah, I'd agree with that, Paul. Up front, definitely. We need someone who's a little bit stronger. See, when Ducks come up, he could be the one because he's quite big and that, but he just isn't. He's not strong. He gets bullied, and German league, it's nowhere near Championship level. So I think this is something that hopefully will be looked at. And I'm trying, obviously you guys are asking me questions, and a lot of them I can't answer because I'm not the club. All I can give you is my opinion on what I personally know and what I see myself. But definitely we need to be more physical up front. We don't have that strength that we need. Someone who can brush defenders off. We don't have that at all. Stansfield's the nearest thing we've got to it, and Jay's a lot more, has matured physically a lot more this season than last season, but he's still not that man, is he? Dutch is tall but lightweight, also can't jump yet. He's not really a centre forward, Paul, to be honest. He's more your number 10. And it's all right fanning around in the Bundesliga too, scoring goals. Well, yeah, you know, and giving it large, but you know, put these players in the Championship, and it's a really hard league. We're in probably the most competitive league in the world. It's more competitive than the Premier League because the Premier League is competed for by about 6 teams. You know, the Championship is competed for by every team that's in it. That's the difference. We're much of a muchness, and you can see that by the gaps between, you know, 18th and 4th or something. You know, 4 wins puts anyone into that position. Paul Watty, oh yeah, Paul, so disappointed over the last few games. Mate, me too. We do not look a team at the moment, and despite Watford it was terrible. Just don't know where we go. Very worried about the game against Coventry. I mean, you know, mate, absolutely. You know, it looked awful yesterday, and I don't mean even the actual game. The aftermath was terrible. Andy Wood is saying we play 2 wingers and cross to. No, yeah, but we don't. We do play 2 wingers, but we don't play high balls, Andy. To be fair, we don't. You know, and Kyogo's not. You know, we aren't like, for instance, we're nothing like Wrexham, who just play that, you know, dinosaur long ball into the box. We don't, and it's generally fairly low, and it's usually to feet within the box. Of course, from corners and that we do, because, you know, I think we scored 8 set-piece goals this season. We're much better now than we were. So, you know, we pushed the centre halves up, and we got a bit of height, but that's it. Paul James saying it's full of Premier League quality players. It is, mate, definitely. Definitely it is. You know, there's some very, very good footballers in this division. But even then, when you step up and look at that division above us, again, that's another massive step up. So we've got a lot, you know, we've got a lot of things in front of us that are going to be obstacles, and we can't just pull the plug every time it goes a little bit haywire. For me, it would be to give, you know, to give him that January window and see what happens after January. You know, Paul was saying fans screaming for crosses or to shoot from 60 yards out. No true old style centre forward. We're never going to have that, Paul, if you've got Tom Wagner in charge of it. You know, mate, it just isn't. Will saying great podcast today, Steve. Thank you, Will. It's nice of you, mate. I thought it was better today just to come in person and give you my thoughts on it and hear yours. Game has moved on from what a lot of fans. It has, you know. I mean, how many times do you hear people say, you know, it's it, you know, cross it, get it over. But the way the answer to that from, you know, a possession football point of view, as a manager, and Tom Wagner, he said it himself. If the opposition haven't got possession, they can't score a goal. That's the answer to that, you know. So if you're really, really good at it and you have 100% possession, you're definitely not going to lose. So, you know, I don't know. Hopefully we can, you know, we can move forward. I hope Wagner doesn't give him the dreaded vote of confidence. Well, I hope he does, Billy, to be honest, because it ain't like Tom Wagner to do that. When you get a vote of confidence from the board, it's a typically managed club that's managed by a board of directors. We are different, and I hope he does get a vote of confidence or get removed, one or the other. We don't want to go in to the next 3 or 4 games with this cloud around the club. You know, we don't want that. Players are lightweight, absolutely they are. You know, we haven't got a very physically strong team, but I think probably, in all honesty, that when we recruited, I think we thought we were going to football our way out of this division fairly easily, and I think it's become quite apparent that this division is a lot more physical than it was, and it's a lot more open because the 3 teams that got promoted the season before got relegated, but they got relegated with some Premier League quality, and that's starting to shine through now. We didn't have that. You know, obviously you're looking at Ipswich and Sheffield United and Southampton, who are now turning corners. I don't know. It's been a very hard pill to swallow. Yesterday was, and we all got excited about it, and we all have our opinions, and everyone's got a right to an opinion, but how you express it, then it's different. John Barker, even if we get 4 or 5 players in during a concert, City changing approach. It won't, John. It's not. You're saying it to the wrong person. He won't change his approach, but it isn't his approach. It's Tom Wagner's approach. What's the first open house? Go back and watch it and listen to what Tom Wagner says, and listen to his interview a few weeks ago when he said exactly that. Nothing's going to change. So he's not going to change the way we play. So, you know, it's not CD changes approach. That's how he plays. That's how he sets teams up. If you look at Postecoglou, or every manager has got their own way of setting up. They're not going to change it because you know, when they go for interview, that's what they put forward. That's how they play the game. So that ain't going to change. But the thing is, if we want that to change, then it's got to be Tom Wagner that changes it, no one else. Dan Garvey, much as I admire Robert's dribbling ability, I get regularly disappointed with his final ball, and his stats of 2 goals and 2 assists actually quite poor. I think Dan, though, to be honest, it's like on Saturday when he picks that ball up, he hasn't now got that right fullback like Laird going wide for him or helping him in a 4-2-3-1. The wide right player, or the number 8, has to be supported by that fullback, and I think he's been missing that. I think he's an absolute quality player, Premier League player for me. Peter Hannon, same players aren't giving 100% is harsh. I can't believe any player deliberately doesn't try. Yes, they could not be good enough or physically up to playing at this level. Yes, they may be bereft of any confidence and struggling mentally away from home, but they don't pick themselves. But with all the injuries and suspensions, the cupboard is bare. And I mean, that's absolutely true, you know. I don't think any player goes into that game, you know, because they all want their place, don't they? They don't go in not giving 100%. But I think when you're playing against teams that are probably technically better, when you've got a very poor side, when you've got a very weak side out, you know, selected, that's tough. And then, you know, like when you go a goal or 2 down, your head goes down. We've all done it. If you play football, you know what it's like. Sometimes you know, if things are going well, you play out your skin. If they're not, then you start to make errors and stuff, and you know, it ain't great. And you're right, Pete. They don't pick themselves. I've said that a million times. The manager picks them. Paul Whittle's still worried now about our home form. With draws, with 3 draws. No, we were a bit unlucky against Derby and Southampton, but we just don't score goals. We know that we have the ability to score goals when everyone's fit. We've seen it, you know. I think what's happening at the moment is we're short of players, and that hopefully will get sorted. I know Andy Wood, I know we all love TW, but who's advising them about this? Mike, you know, who's advising them about it is, and again, you know, what guys, honestly, look, go back and look at the very first open house. He isn't advised by anyone. It's facts that the most successful teams in the world play that system. The teams that win more than anyone else in the world play that system. He doesn't need to have advice. It's statistically correct. Just go and watch that first one. I'm not making it up. Like I've said a few times, go and have a look at the very first open house. You'll know all about it then, you know. He's not been advised about it. It's actually statistically proven. That's as simple as that, you know. Steve Rudd, it seems our players, well, some of them anyway, don't have the quality to get results recently. I get the injury suspensions, but yesterday really did show, unfortunately. Well, yeah, because like, the quality wasn't there yesterday. As simple as that. You don't have 24 top-class championship players. You don't. You know, it's impossible. And what we got is a pretty. When we look at the squad now and realise some of these players probably aren't up to it, then we haven't got a very big squad, have we? We lose 3 or 4 quality players and we're on our knees, and that's what happened. You know, we were played through yesterday fairly simply. We had possession, but they let us have possession because we didn't have the final ball. We didn't have the killer instinct. We could have been there all week and we wouldn't have scored a goal yesterday. And I just think it's one of those things. And we don't have the quality. You're absolutely right. Andy Wood, if possession football could send us back down to League One, surely you have to look at the facts. It's not working. Well, that's a decision for Tom Wagner, not me. You know, I'm just telling you how it is. Tom Wagner thinks that, you know, he won't change the fact that he's going to play possession football. He might just change the manager, and we will get another manager that plays the same way that Chris Davies does. And the only other way then to get rid of it is for Tom Wagner to go. You know, Dan Garvey saying those stats include a lot of games with Laird or Iwata sitting next to him. Great interpassing, but still no end product. Well, I mean, you can't, you know, look at assists and look at goals. It doesn't tell you everything, does it? I mean, you only have to look at Patrick Roberts and see the difference. You know, for instance, last season we had Emil Hansen there. Which player would you have? I know which one I'd have every day of the week. Steve Rudd. We're getting a lot of comments today, guys. But did it Wagner state we built a League One squad ready to compete in the Championship? I'm super upbeat, but can now see us sparring. Well, I mean, the answer to that question, Steve, isn't in December. It's in May. You know, so I don't know. We've got some very good players, but we've also got some extremely average ones. Paul Evans, I suspect they felt defeat at the start due to starting 11. I agree. They shouldn't, though, as they're pros, but still human. Paul, and it's like when I looked at that team yesterday, I looked at it and thought, you know what? I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know how we're going to play against Watford with this team, you know. And it just looked like we had the, you know, for about 30 minutes, we were passing the ball, we were keeping possession, but we just didn't have any edge at all. We just looked toothless. We couldn't find the final pass. And we were just absolutely destroyed on the turnovers, you know, and their pace, I mean, they are, you know, they've got some very good players, haven't they? They definitely have, you know, Loser, Mamma Mia, and of course he's got his hat-trick, didn't he? And, you know, definitely. Paul Jones, 70 points the last 3 seasons out of 5 has been good enough for a playoff place. Well, we'll see. You know, I think it will be that this season, definitely, if not a bit lower, because the points have been shared out so much. So we can't, you know, like I said before, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But the decision at the end of the day lies with the man that has been our saviour, Tom Wagner. So I think we all have to just put our faith in Tom and just see what comes out of the next few days. We always try to be in support of the manager that's in situ, and I personally I like Chris Davies as a manager, and he's a nice bloke. And for now, I would definitely stay with him. But obviously, he's the one that's under pressure. You know, he knows that himself. Paul, what are you saying? Just hopefully get a few players into our Chris Davies, but got to be players that are better than we have got. Well, it goes without saying, you know. I mean, I think we need 4 quality players in this team now to shore us up, to give us depth, and to give us an opportunity to get into playoffs. The season isn't dead. It's December. It's not December. It's January. Season isn't dead. There's 5 months to go. Don't just don't surrender now. Paul Evans, Watford were the best at St Andrews this season. Yesterday's result was inevitable. Yeah, and we did. We're the only team to beat them in 12 outings, so it tells you something about Watford as well, doesn't it? They look quality. They're fast on the transition. I absolutely hate the fact that he scored a hat-trick, but he did. And there's nothing we can do. And like Paul Evans says there, Paul, move on. I think we just got to move on. And we've got to be sensible about this. Just think about what you say sometimes, because it's easy to lose your rag and not be level-headed about it. We've got a game coming up. What day is it? It's Friday, isn't it? I keep thinking it's Monday or something. We've got a game coming up on Sunday. What's the team going to be? We don't know, because we don't know who's fit. I think for me it would be back four. It'd be Wata. I mean, Neumann has to stay. We don't have another centre half to put in there, and that sounds harsh, but he didn't look comfortable yesterday. Robinson, who I think is probably the best of the defenders at the moment, and Cashin, who I think it was harsh that he didn't start against Watford, because he played very, very well against Sheffield. I think we're going to see Doyle and Pake in the middle, and then Roberts on the right. I don't know who is going to be on the left yet, because we don't know about injuries. I don't think Dimmy's going to be right. I don't know. Stansfield could play on that left. Otherwise, he can play wide left. Of course, he can. And then behind him, I don't want Ducks in there, not against Coventry. I think we would be better if we have to play a player that probably we wouldn't necessarily start from the start. It would be Dykes, and then we have to play Kyogo up front. We don't have any more strikers. So I think that's probably as near the team as we're going to get, unless we get returning players. I hope Stansfield's fit. He recovers fast. Jay Stansfield is a quick healer, so hopefully, he can be back. Just hope Dimmy's back. Doyle's back. And next week we get Clara back. And, seriously, like, a lot of this is self-inflicted, isn't it? These players need to look at themselves and realise sometimes that, their stupidity costs us a lot more than just points. But listen, guys, I'm going to call it a day there. Thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to speak to me today. I wanted to come on and represent the project and explain to you exactly where we are and the way we do things and what we think. We all of us have an opinion, I know, but think about how you express it sometimes, because, and also, taking the piss out of the group or whatever. It doesn't endear you to us, does it? And we don't want that, particularly people that should know better. But you take your own choices. If you don't like our group, you go and look at another one. And but take it from me, I've been round them all, mate. And apart from Small Heath Alliance, I wouldn't personally go in any of them. But there you go. John Barker saying thank you, Steve. Thank you, John. Listen, guys, all of you, thank you so much for taking the time and come and talk to me today. I'd like to wish you all a really happy new year. And let's just keep the faith a little bit, and let's go with what the club decide. Let's see how they treat it. Tom Wagner's a man that has his finger on the button, and we'll see if he presses it or not. I hope personally we just go for a little bit of stability for a bit longer. Don't panic, don't jump, don't jump to the wrong decision, because there's a bit of pressure from everywhere. The press will love this. Villa fans will love all this. We can't turn on ourselves. We have to live together as Blues fans. Look, we're Small Heath, aren't we, right? That's what counts. It counts. Paul White, certainly winning Sunday, big ask. Paul, it is a big ask, but stranger things have happened, and let's keep our fingers crossed. Then we've got the FA Cup to worry about. Fucking hell. Listen, please, Blues, don't fucking well lose on Sunday. We can't take it. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Listen, have a fabulous Friday. Have a great weekend. I'll be in touch. I'm probably going to do a preview of the Coventry game on Sunday morning, and we'll, and may even come on tomorrow at some point just to do your heads in. Billy saying, do you think we can stop Coventry playing on Sunday? I think we'll leave that question hanging there because I'm really not sure. Guys, keep right on. Have a fabulous day. And listen, look at that. Where's it gone? Keep right on. And a bit of that, look. Woohoo! Up you Blue Boys. See you later, guys. We won't be playing any low block, Billy. Absolutely no chance. See you guys.